Well, first up, the government has announced suspension of all debt service payments under certain categories of external debt pending an orderly restructuring of the affected obligations. The suspension will include the payments on Eurobonds, commercial term loans, and on most bilateral debt. Here's a finance ministry statement I want to show you on the screen right now. It reads, this suspension will include the payments on our Eurobonds, our commercial term loans, and on most of our bilateral debt. This suspension will not include the payments of our multilateral debt, new debts, whether multilateral or otherwise, contracted after the 19th of December 2022, or debts related to certain short-term trade facilities. We are also evaluating certain specific debts related to projects with the highest socioeconomic impact for Ghana, which may have to be excluded. This suspension, the statement says, is an interim emergency measure pending future agreements with all relevant creditors. The government stands ready to engage in discussions with all its external creditors to make Ghana's debt sustainable through a fair, transparent, and comprehensive debt restructuring exercise in line with international best practices. The Ministry of Finance, their statement goes on to say, will hold an investor presentation at a date to be announced at a later stage. All right, so Associate Professor of Finance at the Andrews University, Professor Williams Pepra, is warning of the erosion of recent gains made by the city if the government does not tread cautiously on negotiations of new terms with creditors of external debt. Government today announced the suspension of Eurobonds and other external debt payments as part of its debt restructuring program. But speaking earlier, Professor Williams Pepra said government will have to undertake lots of negotiations with its creditors because of the legal terms covering the agreements of the external debt, particularly the Eurobonds. All right, we are not able to bring you that audio to Professor Williams Pepra there, but we can speak on phone with Dr. Richmond Etuahene to get some reaction to this announcement of a suspension of all debt service payments under the external restructuring that we anticipate by the government as we look forward to an IMF deal. Grateful for your time this afternoon. So is government on the right path on this external debt restructuring move? If you can hear me, Dr. Etuahene, I just wanted your thoughts on this new move announced by government on external debt restructuring to suspend all debt service payments on under certain categories in line with the external debt restructuring. Good move?
Hello?
Okay, I presume you didn't hear me. Dr. Richmond Etuahene is a financial analyst. He joins us on the external debt restructuring announced by the government today. And I was just picking your reactions to this.
Hello?
Okay, the line is not working, so we'll skip this for now and move on to other stories as we continue to work that for you here on the marketplace. In other news this afternoon, interest rates continue to fall on the treasury market for the second week running as investors intensify their attention to short-term securities following the debt exchange program. This enabled the government to secure about 98% oversubscription of its target for the weekly treasury bill sale. What's the update on this? Joining us is Patrick Agama, who is head of trading at Republic Securities. What can you tell us?
Well, for last week, the government raised a total of 3.6 billion against a target of 1.98 billion. Amounts tendered were approximately about 3.9 billion. So that left that huge subscription rate over there. The 91-day again dropped by 64 basis points to close as 34.93, although bids as high as 36.5 were accepted. The 182-day cleared at 36.03 and also dropping by 49 basis points. And then the 364-day also dropped by 8.3 basis points to clear at 36.1. In general, again, bids were largely dominated by the 91-day, which was 65.2% of the total bids that were accepted against 18.8% for the 182-day and then 16% for the 364-day bill.
All right. And so, I mean, our observation, interest rates are declining. They're good for government as its borrowing costs are expected to decrease. But what would be the implication for the markets if this continues?
Yes, if this continues, it's going to help the market a lot. What we've noticed in the few weeks is that investors have lost confidence in the issuer, which is the government. So if this continues, that is going to build confidence in the issuer and its ability to pay back, because investors stopped being rate sensitive and they were now watching the security of the instrument. Now that the rates are dropping, they will be more confident that the government will be able to pay back in the near future.
All right, let's turn to the stock market because there is anticipated mixed trading this week. What's your preview?
Well, what we are seeing is that we are beginning to see increased activity and bids in stocks like Cowbank, MTN, Benzo Oil Palm, and Total. Although the market largely remains offered with an offered tone, and we have a lot of other stocks showing heavy sell side. These particular bids that are building up can also actually bring some tractions to the market in this coming week.
All right, Patrick Edemagama, the head of Trading Republic Securities. We can go back to the phone line. Hopefully, we'll get a good connection to Dr. Richmond Etuani, who is financial analyst on external debt restructuring. A statement from the finance ministry essentially saying that government had suspended debt service payments on certain categories as it looks forward to an IMF deal. And so I just wanted to know, first of all, if government was on the right path on this external debt restructuring move.
Thank you very much. Well, it's just a sovereign default. What is a sovereign default? And a sovereign default has quite implications for the country, because people have participated in your bonds, and then you are saying you cannot pay. Straight away, the good thing that we saw in the dollar was what we call the preemptive default. That brought the dollar where it is. Once you default, what it means is that it affects your currency seriously. And again, it's going to affect our international trade. What I mean is that today, if you should go to UK and ask for loan syndication for cocoa, I'm wondering who will want to participate in it. I wanted to know who would participate in it, because you're now saying that, sorry, you're good for nothing, you're not able to pay. So it's going to be very difficult to do your external trade. And again, the institutions that have credit lines, some institutions have credit lines, in terms of credit lines. Immediately you say it, that they will be cut off. They will be cut off, and if they are cut off, it would affect the external trade. So it's the implication is quite big. But I would have thought that we would have tried to complete the debt exchange, the domestic debt exchange, and before we go and do the pre-default, so that we could negotiate with them very well for the haircut or whatever they were talking about. Now,
well, the government indicates that
it's not going to be easy for negotiation. You're going to have it tough.
The government indicates that
you're going to have it tough. There's no two ways about that. And the literature support that you're not going to have it easy, because you're telling them that I cannot, I don't have. Therefore, wait and let me tell you what you can do.
So I was just making the point, can you hear me, Dr. Chiani, that the government indicates that it's hard pressed for time. We also have issues with the economy that has to be dealt with urgently, and so it cannot wait for the completion or the implementation of a domestic debt exchange program as you would have anticipated. It has to do something.
Dale, can you speak louder? I can't get you from what
I was just making the point that the government is hard pressed for time, and so you would understand why it wants to carry this through as well. Because you make the point about the fact that you expected that it would have completed with the domestic debt restructuring.
Well, you know, if you're hard pressed for time, you set your time frame, and you should make provision for, especially the domestic. You see, the domestic debt restructuring would have helped in the external restructuring. But now that you're having a problem to do it, people are now beginning to say, oh, there is no confidence. I would have thought that we have a lot of time. We had time from July up to today. The engagement, as I've always been saying, there needs to be a good stakeholders engagement to tell people the reason why we are doing it and the benefit for us. Not only the benefit for physical space, what we do to industry, what we do to the private sector. If all these things we knew from July, we could have programmed ourselves very well that we shouldn't have been hard pressed by time. Now we haven't done that. We are getting hard pressed every day. So we are taking some measures that, for me, in your negotiation, is not going to be easy for you at all.
Okay, so next step, I guess, is for government to negotiate with the stakeholders involved. And we understand that some transaction advisors have been hired to help do that. Do you anticipate some pushback, as we have seen with the domestic debt exchange?
Concerning the domestic debt exchange, I believe, and I've always said it, initially I said that, we should have a serious engagement, stakeholders engagement, before even we talk about signing the SLA. It would have been easier if we have completed it earlier and you sign the SLA. You don't sign the SLA before you go into engagement. It's not going to be easy, because if you get the filler, the information reaching some of us, it's not going to be easy, because people are now taking a position, and it's going to make it difficult. But I would have thought initially, before we talk about the SLA, we should have, we should have completed the stakeholders engagement constructively, so that everybody understands where we are going, why we are going, and where we are going. Unfortunately, if you bring it and then you ask people and they do critique and read about it, they realize that, why were we not consulted initially? So they develop a stance. And I'm just praying and hoping that we all come to common sense and then agree, so that we don't also have default, the domestic default. Because if we have the domestic default in addition to the external default, it's going to have a serious repercussion on the economy. So it is my prayer that, at least with all this that is going on, let Ghanaians hold the alliance and agree. We disagree, but let us begin to accept that. If we don't do it, next 2023, as I've said it before, it's not going to be easy for us. But if we get this thing going, at least with the IMF, and also if we get this going, it will be easier for us to talk to the external debt. And the IMF would see that we are also doing a good job. So for me, although the harm has been done, let us be very frank and discuss it as Ghanaians and take a path. We want a sustainable debt level. Let us agree.
But I don't think I actually got an answer to the question. I was asking about whether or not you think there will be pushback from external, from the investors to this announcement by the Finance Ministry, because earlier we spoke to an analyst who said there were fears that the cedi would lose the gains it's made if we do not negotiate properly with these investors.
Well, any foreign investor or FDI, foreign direct investment, we're more concerned about it. And without the FBI, we also have a problem. So, whatever is going on, we must stick to the way that we want to go. Other than that, we will be in a mess. And I believe that the CD, as you have said, I've said it earlier, what we have gained, what the gains that people are talking about, this is where we're going to see the real value of the money. Because people who have bought it are going to demand their money. And we don't have the resources to pay them, and it's going to reflect. So in default, what comes in, the first that comes in is the currencies. It affects the currency depreciation and currency what have you. It's a serious issue in addition to the foreign direct investment.
All right, we'll leave it here. Dr. Richmond Ituaine, he is a financial analyst joining us on the external debt restructuring, which seems to have kick-started with the Finance Ministry announcing a suspension on debt service payments on, for instance, the Eurobond. Now, the Ghana Revenue Authority has retrieved in excess of $93 million, an additional 421 million cedis from multinationals and indigenous companies operating in the country through its Informers Reward Scheme. These were hitherto taxes that the state could have lost as a result of firms' unwillingness to pay until the intervention of these informers who used the informant application system to draw the attention of the GRA. Wisdom Hetor is acting head of intelligence at the Ghana Revenue Authority, joins us to discuss this. Grateful you could join us. So tell us for how long this reward scheme has been in place. You're muted. Can you hear me, Wisdom?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. So I just wanted to find out how long this reward scheme has been in place.
Yeah, thank you, and good afternoon to your listeners and viewers. This system has been in place for some time now, but it has recently been reviewed this year in particular to include or to improve upon the system, the payment system, so that it will be more attractive to the informants or the whistleblowers. So it is actually a system in place to reward disclosure of information leading to recovery of tax that would have been lost. So I can say that patronage is been very high now. There are different forms of tax impropriety that taxpayers engage in, including under declaration of tax, under invoicing, carding, smuggling, non-filing, non-registration or failure to register for tax purposes, incineration, that's burning of records, non-issuance of VAT invoice, among others. So many people are willing to report this impropriety or non-compliance, but the avenue has not been there or the awareness has not been there for people to report. So what we do is we are trying to mainstream to create the awareness for people to report, creating the platform for them to report any form of impropriety relating to tax non-compliance, so that they can report. And a good thing or the sweet thing about it is that they are not only reporting to help mobilize revenue for their country, but there are financial awards also attached.
So we're told that the Ghana Revenue Authority has retrieved in excess of $93 million, an additional 421 million cedis from multinationals and indigenous firms. Over what period is this, and are we to expect some more monies to be retrieved?
Yeah, from this year, that's January to December this year as we speak. But there are others in the pipeline which are yet to be concluded. So I'm hopeful that by end of the year, it will increase from what the figure that you have been now, or the figure that we have shared with you.
And I mean, one issue of concern would be how the informants are protected under this scheme.
Yeah, it is very central. Protection or security of the identity of the informant is very central to this particular scheme. In fact, the Whistleblower Act at 720/2006 even enjoined us to protect the identity of the informant, failure to which you can attract penal consequences. So we have a comprehensive procedure in place to ensure that the identity of the informant is not compromised, as well as the information that is given us will also not be compromised. So we have a comprehensive system in place so that when you come to report to us, we don't use your name, we give you a code which we operate with throughout the life of our relationship. So you can be assured that they are safe. We don't even meet them in our offices. We meet them at locations that people cannot easily see them. So all we are doing is to protect their identity.
And I hear,
we know that.
Yeah, go on.
We know that when such information or some information are released, their lives could even be in danger. So we are very much aware of that, and we have a good system in place to protect their identity.
What sort of reward is given to an informant who gives the GRA a lead?
Yeah, we have about 4 categories. The first category is when an information provided leads to recovery of tax of less than 2.5 million, then we can give you 25% of the interest or the penalty, which is capped at 25,000 cedis. When the amount exceeds 2.5 million, the amount recovered exceeds 2.5 million, then we'll give you 1% of total recovery. The next category is when the amount exceeds 25 million Ghana cedis. Then the board, in consultation with the top management, in consultation with the board, will determine how much to pay the informant. In case there's no penalty, then the Commissioner General will determine between 5,000 and 25,000 to award the informant. In the case of smuggled vehicles, for instance, when it is saloon cars, the award is 500 cedis. When it is SUV, it's 700. When it is buses or vans, it's 1,000 cedis. And when it is a truck, we give you an award of 1,200 Ghana cedis. So these are the categories of awards that we have in place.
So I hear this policy has been reviewed. So what's changed about it?
Yeah, we have reviewed it to bring the process and payment to within 21 days. So on application or completion of the auditing and establishing the liability, then when you apply, then within 21 days, your money or your award is ready.
All right. Thank you, Wisdom Heto there, Head of Intelligence, Acting Head of Intelligence at the Ghana Revenue Authority. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, before we go, the Canada-Ghana Chamber of Commerce says offshore investors from Canada will, in 2023, invest in various productive sectors of the Ghanaian economy. According to Executive Secretary of the Chamber, Edwin Atasonu, automobile, agriculture, and mining sectors will be the main focus. She spoke to Joy Business at the Chamber's end-of-year awards.
The Chamber says it will embark on in-house business networking initiative to promote internal business-to-business growth among members. Executive Secretary of the Chamber, Edwina Atasono, said she's optimistic the partnership will further boost trade between the two countries, adding that some investors have already shown interest in patronizing Ghanaian businesses.
With regards to trade, so this year alone we have had 4 great trade missions. One on mining, one was a summit, a diaspora summit in collaboration with GIPC. One is the boating show I've just spoken about. The other one is on oil, is on oil and gas. And the essence of the trade missions is 2 main things: to get to meet partners and investors to come into Ghana. And the second thing is to migrate best practices and technology. And we have been able to do so for most of our companies this year. If you paid attention, some of the members spoke some of the success stories. And these are success stories that have taken place only this year. In August, we organized an annual event we call CEOs Connect, where we brought great both from the public sector, government, international, and private sector.
She also used the opportunity to further urge members of the chamber to use Ghana as a starting point to penetrate the African market, taking full advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area.
And that's the marketplace. Thanks for watching. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. There you go. You have more on today's development story on debt restructuring, government suspends Eurobonds, external debt payments. Details there on myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Daryl Kwawu. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time tomorrow.